Section 7.5 is all about proportional parts of similar triangles. So there is a note sheet. If you can pick that up from your teacher, that would be helpful. If you don't, you can just sketch these diagrams. Otherwise, you could tape the little pieces of paper in your notes. So for the first example, take a look. If we assume that line KH is parallel to segment FG, then we know angles JKH and JFG are congruent because of corresponding angles. Likewise, we know angles JHK and JGF are congruent. And angle J is a shared angle, and so that means it's shared by both the big and the small triangles. And so we know that these two triangles, JKH, the small triangle, and JFG, the big, are similar by AA. So if we were to solve for x, we could think about it as two separate triangles, the small and the big, and solving for x in the usual way, we would get that x is 36. Now that's not a 7.5 idea. What is a 7.5 idea is to look at the proportional parts of one triangle. So rather than looking at this as two separate triangles, the small and the big, consider it as one big triangle with proportional parts. So then we can split it up. We see that 24 and 8, x and 12 have the same proportion, the same ratio. And so 24 divided by 8 equals x divided by 12, and we can solve and we see that we get the same answer. And so that's the idea behind proportional parts of one triangle related to two similar but overlapping triangles. Show you another example here. With the parallel line, we know that the parts of the large triangle, MLP, is split. And so if we want to solve for x, we can set up a ratio equal to another ratio. There are a bunch of different correct ways to go about doing this. Eventually, you should get that x, in this case, is 36. A nice coincidence. I didn't plan it that way, but just so happens here that x in example 2 is the same as x in example 1. So that brings us to the proportional parts conjecture. If we think about it as proportional parts of one triangle, then we can say, in general, A divided by C equals B divided by D. And we see that there are a bunch of equivalent forms. We could say C divided by A equals D divided by B. Or you can kind of go left and right. A divided by B equals C divided by D. Or similarly, right divided by left, B divided by A equals D divided by C. All of those are different perspectives on the proportional parts of one triangle. And don't forget as well that you can think about it as two overlapping triangles. These are also correct ways of solving these proportional parts problems. And so for the last example, I'll leave it for you. Solve for x and y. You can either choose to solve as proportional parts of one triangle or as overlapping triangles, the small, the medium, and the large. And that's what we'll start up with tomorrow.